the kind of the payoff is what happens earlier with the big chords. And then, in a sense, the ending is a reaction or a kind of contemplation, or I don't know. I talk about this a little in the essay, how I always like to end pieces really quietly, and I don't know. I think in a way, it's that I always like to have some sort of response. If there's like a really large, loud, very kind of defining event, I like to have the ability to respond to it afterwards, and I think that's why my pieces often end quietly, because the first 2/3 or even the first like 75% or so of this piece is like incredibly active and often kind of tumultuous. I think there did have to be some kind of response to it, and I don't know, it may be just sort of the fact that I didn't really want this piece to be like a showpiece, by which I mean like I didn't want it to be just like a vehicle for kind of virtuosic display. I mean, there are pieces that are just that and they work well, but it's not really what I'm interested in writing. So even though this piece is very virtuosic, I wanted it to kind of have more of an impact than just like a little, exhibition piece. And I think part of that is kind of giving it a more generous form and a more complex form and a kind of a more satisfying and more kind of complete emotional arc in a way. I mean, endings and beginnings are the hardest parts to write. I don't know. It's really difficult to explain. The best thing I can say is that it somehow feels right. After you've written a bunch of pieces, I think you kind of figure out you figure out like a number of tricks that work for you, and you can kind of go through and try those things and see which fits with the piece. And I think one of mine is what I was saying about kind of having the quiet response to the big event, and have it kind of be, I don't know. I think often that gives it a little bit of a melancholy feeling. In this case, I think it's maybe a little bit more just sort of floaty. I don't find it particularly melancholy. It's just sort of it's more like settled into a kind of stasis. So in that way, I think it's appropriate for an ending. I don't know. I guess I always kind of want my pieces to resolve somehow, even if they don't technically like resolve. It's I always kind of want there to be some reason for it ending where it does, It's like something has changed or something has happened, or the musical material has been affected in some way over the course of the piece that causes it to end right here in this manner where it does. I don't want it to just end with some like choppy thing, or like have the whole thing be choppy.